Hi, my name's Carol Ricard, and thank you so much for joining me on this episode. I am back today with part 2 of stress and cancer. Last episode was what you need to know, and this episode is going to focus on what to do to begin to take kind of back control so that stress isn't controlling you, but you're controlling it. Now, first time tuning in to the I Am Not Cancer show. Just to give you a little bit background, I'm a stage 3 cancer survivor. For 30 years, I've taught stress management and wellness skills in hospitals. And I created this show to just bring inspiration to people and give them hope, to bring information to kind of guide your treatment decisions and also empowerment. And that is just giving you the tools that you really can't get anywhere else. And so that, is our mission. And today we're going to continue on with what we did on our last episode, which was really stress and cancer. Now, just in case you missed that, and for those of you who watched it, I'm going to go back and just do a little recap. All right. And for that, I'm going to just come back to my board here. So what we first started about, got to get on the right side. What we first started with was what is stress? And simply put, stress is a response to a change or a situation. Our brain is hardwired for survival. And so it's constantly kind of got this watch center looking and just keeping an eye out really for our safety. So we can't stop stress. But what's really important to recognize is that changes or situations can be both positive and negative. All right. What they can also do is be big, like the coronavirus or a diagnosis of cancer, but they can also be small, like you get to your doctor's appointment, and even if they're running 5 minutes late, you might find that change just sort of triggers a stress response for you. And then we talked about why it's so important for cancer patients to really begin to take control of stress. And there are 3 that research over the past couple of years has really kind of demonstrated. One is that stress has been demonstrated to accelerate the growth of cancer cells. All right. Number 2 is that, stress has been demonstrated to impact treatment outcomes. And number 3 is, in case you are a cancer survivor, this one really applies to you, that really it's been connected to reoccurrence of cancer. So really important reasons why stress, more than anybody, is important for, cancer patients, right? And then we started about how to do something about it. And I kind of introduced my therapy that I discovered desperately 20 years ago working in the hospital. And that was what I call rapid relief therapy. So let me flip the page so we can take a quick peek and then we can jump into things. So with rapid relief therapy, what we're really doing is having to do 2 steps, right? Because what ends up happening in us is just like the bottle of root beer, right? The pressure builds up. Well, it doesn't go anywhere on its own. So step 1 is we have to stop the pressure or the level from building, right? But then we have to follow up with step 2, which is to release, so that we can kind of let some of that pressure out. Because the one thing that's certain in life is that pressure, that level is going to go back up again. All right. And one of the big differences is that with the stop, it has to be something calming. All right. And with the release, it has to be something active, meaning muscles. You have to exert energy, right, in order to create that release. And the other image I, talked about was you turn a tub on at 10 o'clock in the morning and then you don't turn it off until 5:30, 6 o'clock at night. You have overflow. Well, again, first step is to stop, right? The flow. So you got to turn it off. And then you want to drain some out so that you have some room. So when it gets turned back on again, you aren't at overflow. And that was really what I found stress management to be. I would be so stressed out at work 20 years ago, right, that I ended up in my doctor's office 3 weeks in a row with migraines. And so what I realized was going to the gym after work, eating healthy, those things were too late. And I needed to do something in the moment. And that my goal was for 60 seconds, but if I couldn't even do 60 seconds, at least even 15 seconds. And so what I want to kind of focus on today is a little bit more on this. But in order to do that, we have to get very good. I call it, you have to become a stress detective. You have to get very good at recognizing where your levels are at. And the quickest way you can do that is ask yourself on a scale 1 to 10, which is what I would do with myself at the hospital. 1 to 10, where am I? 1 is low, 10 is really like overload. And a 5 or greater, you need to take action. But there's another way to begin to do this because stress can be a little bit more subtle, right? And our body, basically our brain, sends us stress signals. The problem is people don't listen to those stress signals until it's too late and they end up in the hospital or their marriage ends in divorce, or quite honestly, at work, they just reach burnout. And I really credit this system for being what's allowed me to live and exist and work in healthcare for nearly 30 years. So I want to talk a little bit first about what are those signals, okay? And that's going to require me coming over to my board. So there are 3 signals that our brain sends us. And really, it's our job to begin to pay attention to them because those are our stress signals. First, there's physical, all right? Second is actually emotional, all right? And third, which I know you're not going to see this, but I'm going to write it anyways, is behavioral. So the really simple way of thinking about this, all right, is the first one is they're all things that our body does that we can't control. So second one, emotional, think feelings. What are you feeling? And of course, the last one is do. What are your behaviors? What do you find yourself doing or not doing? All right. And just so you know, I have this great handout that I put together, just a little packet. It actually comes out of my latest book, which is I Am Not Cancer. But it really is about helping you begin to kind of identify what are your stress signals. All right. And I want to give you some examples of some of these and give you an idea so you know what to look for. But what I really want to do is encourage you to go to the website, iamnotcancer.live, Live, right? And you can actually download this and then just go through it as an inventory. But real quick, I just wanted to give a few examples of what some of those can be. All right. So, body could be tense muscles, or maybe another one, can't sleep, or maybe racing thoughts. Or tired, all right? Just to give you a little example of what some of those physical things are. But there are many, many more. In fact, I want to say I have probably 25 or 30 on this little inventory for you to do. When it comes to feelings, right, that could be feeling, overwhelmed, frustrated. But I also want you to begin to pay attention to sadness and maybe depression or feeling anxious, like in your mind anxious, not your body anxious, because actually your body anxious goes over here. All right. And I also want you to notice positive emotions, because remember, stress doesn't come wrapped in negative packages. It can also be something really positive, like wedding, right? Or child, or actually getting a job, or even a job promotion, or even a job interview, right? So you might feel, kind of, you might feel excited or joy that you begin to notice. And then our last category is, what do you notice that you start to do? Well, one thing I used to do was to eat a lot of chocolate, right? But for some people, they don't eat. For some people, it goes down, right? All right. I just wanted to get a few up there. So the very top, which you can't see beyond eat, is I put yell or argue, but then I also put the opposite of that, which could be to shut down, right? And then it could be you isolate, or maybe you smoke more, or maybe you even self-medicate. Nowadays in New Jersey, marijuana is a legal substance, just like alcohol is. But people can use that as a way of trying to just sort of manage the stress, and I shared with you all that actually this was one of my stress tools when I was 14 years old, because I was really trying to do that same thing. But these are the signals. And again, I have this great handout for you. You can go, it's just an inventory sheet of all the different things that happen. And that's important, because the better you get to know you, the quicker you can sort of intervene and really keep those stress levels down super, super low. All right. So that's how to kind of identify it. But now let's talk about and go back to this rapid relief therapy, right? Because we talked about these two steps. We want to stop, and then we want to release and make room. So calm, active. And I want to have us talk, but more importantly, I want you to experience I want you to experience some of these things. So, most important part about this therapy and this kind of method is that we want to always have tools that we can access anytime, anywhere we are. All right. So there are certain things that you probably use that are helpful. But the truth is, can you use those things if you were sitting in a staff meeting? Could you use those things if you were sitting in a doctor's office waiting on, your follow-up appointment? Could you use those things if you were, kind of going through a CAT scan, which I actually have one coming up next week, right? And I use these tools during those moments in those situations to really kind of keep the stress levels, really as low as I possibly can. So the very, very first one I want to share with you all, I call it stress kryptonite, because you know how kryptonite is really the only thing that can neutralize and take out Superman. Well, this has incredible power over our bodies and our stress response. Um, and quite honestly, we do it every single moment of every single day without even thinking about it. And that is our breath. All right. There are two ways that we can use our breath. First one, all right, is I want you to put one hand on your chest and the other hand, just put it right on your stomach. And then I want you to just take a breath and just pay attention to which hand moves, all right? And we'll count to 3, and then I'll say breathe, and you notice which hand moves. You ready? 1, 2, 3, breathe. All right. I'm going to do it one more time just so you get to practice. 1, 2, 3, breathe. All right. Now, you might be kind of thinking, okay, both, right? I've had people say my belly. I've had people say, my chest more. And what we really want is we want to kind of do deep breathing. And that deep breathing actually forces our diaphragm to work, which quite honestly is sort of massaging our heart and some of our organs. So it's relaxing our body. All right. If we only breathe up here, that's not going to happen. So here's the thing I want to show you what it would look like if I was a chest breather, which I used to be. Okay. You ready? See how my shoulders came up and the air came up here? Or if I just was to do a deep one, you could probably see how my hand moves. So we're going to practice this again. And I want you to just concentrate on just sort of getting your belly to extend. All right. Again, we'll count 1, 2, 3, and I'll say breathe. And just focus on just trying to breathe deep and make your belly just sort of stick out. You ready? 1, 2, 3, breathe. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3, breathe. Now, if you couldn't do it, don't panic. It actually, takes some practice. But if you ever watch a baby sleeping, what do you notice moves when they breathe? Their bellies. So the good news is we were all born belly breathers. It's just retraining our brain and our bodies to get back to that. Now, you might think, okay, Carol, that's too complicated. I don't have time to do this. Well, first off, you could practice when you go to sleep every night, because I found laying down on a bed is easier to do, right? And then just practicing it, put one hand on the chest and the belly. But what's really amazing, though, is research has shown that there's another way that we can use the breath, which is quite honestly super, super simple. Like, doesn't involve retraining your brain. It just involves breathing slower. So here's what I want to show you. Okay. When we tend to see people get, kind of these days, people tend to be very rapid breathers. Okay. Maybe, kind of not noticing that they're just rapidly breathing. And when we get under stress, it can really become much quicker. All right. What we do is we want to slow our breath down to just inhale and it a count of 5. So it's simply this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then exhale 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's just natural, right? Whether it's your chest or your belly, doesn't matter. All right. Well, ideally, it makes it good if you can breathe in through your nose. All right. Just so that you can have that sensation, of coolness. You ready? So we're going to try this. All right. And I'm going to do my 5 count, but yours might be a little, kind of a little slower or a little faster, but don't go too much faster. All right. So because it's really meant to slow down our breathing. You ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, what's really incredible is if you will do this, if you could do a minute, great. Quite honestly, even if you do 3 of those breaths, the whole purpose of slowing down our breathing, and really studies have shown this, that when we slow down our breathing, we slow down our heart rate. And what that does is the body sends the signal to the brain to just sort of kind of slow down and calm down. And so that's the one way that we can kind of take a little bit of control from that watch center I told you about in our brains, that little place called the amygdala. Or most people know it is the place where it creates our fight, flight, or freeze response. All right. So those are 2 tools for calming: the breath, right? Which could be belly breathing. And really, if you can change your breathing, which I have now been able to do, and restore what our default is, we were all born belly breathers. So it takes practice. You can also buy some apps that will help you do this, whether it's with the pace breathing, because that was the second tool, was to just slow down our breathing. Now, the other tool that we always have with us, if we use it, is positive self-talk. See, our brain's wired to go to the negative, but what we want to do is purposely focus it on the positive. And so one of the things is when I'm saying I'm late, I'm late, I'm late, I actually will tell myself, to be quiet. No, I don't tell myself to be quiet. I say I have all the time that I need. All right. Or I get there when I get there. And the last thing that we can always have with us is, for me, it's the serenity prayer, and I repeat it over and over in my head. For other people, it could actually be something as simple as, a prayer verse, or a mantra, or even a song verse. All right. And then there's one last tool I want to get us to do, and that's what I call mind push-ups. And so what we do with a mind push-up is we simply will sit quietly, set a timer for 1 minute, and as you breathe in, I want you to think my mind is calm, and as you breathe out, my body's relaxed. Are you ready? So we're going to start, and I'm just going to have us do 30 seconds so you can see what that feels like. I'll start you off guiding, and then I'll stop. Are you ready? In, my mind is calm. Out, my body's relaxed. In, my mind is calm. Out, my body's relaxed. In, my mind is calm. Out, my body's relaxed. So, what did you notice, right? Did you notice that, it kind of felt long or maybe calming or relaxing? But again, when we can just focus and kind of slow down our brain, we then actually can slow down the response. So, real quick, I want to get some of these on the board because the stop is calm. What we just did was what I call mind push-ups, right? Also, put down music and prayer and aromas, right, that we can do. And then a hot shower or bath, all right? So these are all things that we can do to calm. And the most important part is we want them accessible in the moment, all right? I knew it. I knew it was going to happen. So I've actually planned to do a third part because I want to come back and have you experience now the release. These are all things that as the level goes up, we stop them with all the things that are written down here. Okay. The next step, which you got to come back for, is we're going to talk about how do we release. And I'm sorry to drag this out on you, but it is so important. This is the one other thing other than your treatment that becomes super critical to just really, just being able to manage the cancer and manage the stress so that you can have the best possible chances at outcomes and being cancer free. So, with that in mind, remember to go to iamnotcancer.live. Also, you can like us on Facebook, and don't forget to go to the website and get your handout so that you can do this inventory. All right. So, thank you so much for joining us. Just had to do a really quick check on my time there. I can't believe time goes by so fast. And you can catch other episodes, all right? So if you missed the first one of this series, go back and catch you can go back and catch the first one, just watching the archives here on the TV station channel or at iamnotcancer.live. My name's Carol Ricard, and I'll see you on the next episode.